Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm
Good.
Kendra Nagey.
Elizabeth,
Nice
so good
to
to
meet
meet
you.
you. I guess I don't really know how to begin this, but I have a lot of concerns about the gender language.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I'm not comfortable with teaching kids that they can be whatever their gender is in their mind.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's interesting about this curriculum is it is focused on body first language, right? That's the way that they talk about it a lot of times.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
So an example of body first language would be a person who grows breasts is preparing to nurse their baby, right? So it is talking about the function of a part as it relates to sexuality and as it relates to human development, as opposed to the gender that's associated with that part.
And why is that?
It's more inclusive.
But what are you including?
You're including anybody who's listening to the conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you mean by all inclusive? Besides just listening, are you including people? What I'm getting is you're saying that anybody who feels like a girl can be a girl.
No, that's not, I mean, I believe that, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you are having a conversation with a group of people and you don't know what their backgrounds are and you don't know what their experience thus far of their bodies have been, that by putting function of a body part first when you're discussing it, especially related to something as scientific as human development, you're helping to have a greater understanding of why people have body parts and what those body parts do.
Okay.
Regardless of a social convention like gender.
But I think of gender as that's the sex, that's biology.
Yeah, so gender is social and sex is biological.
So gender is more what you think you are, and biology, so sex is what's between here.
So gender is identity, and gender assigned at birth is sometimes the way it's discussed, or one's sex refers to the parts that we have.
Yeah, so I just disagree with that. And so I understand that is how it's being taught in the schools.
Yeah, but it's not teaching a specific idea as much as it's teaching the function and the purpose of body parts.
Right. I think it's really important to teach what breasts are for and what vaginas are for, but I don't understand that teaching that when you say all-inclusive, you mean a boy who identifies as a girl, or a girl who identifies as a boy. So a girl who identifies as a boy will have breasts.
Yes, a boy who identifies a biologically female individual who identifies as male may have gone through puberty and developed breasts.
Right.
Yes.
But that's a female. That's a female human being.
And so if that individual happens to be, let's say they moved from out of town and they've been wearing big heavy sweatshirts and they've been going by a name that people identify as being a male name, and they have not necessarily had a reason to tell anyone in the class that their gender assigned at birth differs from the identity that they are putting out to society, right? If that person would have a negative, and this is where, for me, when I think about children's mental health, if they're going to have a truly, really negative impact on their life by feeling like their body parts don't match who they are, and it leads to depression, and it leads to anxiety, and it leads to all of these mental health crises, issues that we're talking about really as a country right now. And we know that that's anywhere from 1% to 3% of the general population. Why wouldn't we use language that helps to support them and deters them from feeling depressed or anxious when it doesn't hurt anybody else?
It has been considered like a body dysphoria, right?
That's the medical term for it.
Right. And anorexia is also body dysphoria, right?
Yeah.
But if we were to affirm an anorexic girl and her identity as being fat, that would be harmful. And how is it different to when we're affirming a boy who is really a girl?
An individual who is at a healthy weight, who makes changes in their lifestyle, and then becomes unhealthy to the point where
But they identify as fat. That would be an anorexic girl. She would identify as being, so her this is mismatched, right?
Anxious,
but is it helping? But I don't think anybody would affirm their mind. They would affirm that that's wrong.
But
that we shouldn't.
medically speaking, the anorexics that I have treated, I have never gone into a room and said, you are not fat. I have never gone into a room and said that you are too thin.
Yeah,
I have gone into rooms and used language to be very, very, very intentional about affirming the feelings that they have and the resultant behavior based on the feelings that they have.
I think there's a difference between accepting what they're feeling and affirming it.
You can affirm one's feelings.
You're agreeing with them if you're affirming.
No, you are not necessarily agreeing with them if you're affirming. If you affirm someone's feelings by saying, I understand that you look in the mirror and what you see is someone who is overweight. That is affirming what they are feeling.
What if they said they wanted to get liposuction?
Then you make medical recommendations as to why that's not necessarily...
So why don't we say that to the kids who are identifying as the opposite sex?
I don't understand the question.
Because it's a similar thing, body dysphoria. A boy who identifies as a girl, there's a disconnect between what the boy thinks and the body part. Mm-hmm. The boy thinks he's a girl, or he wants to be a girl, but his body parts are not showing that, not exhibiting girl.
Sure.
So there's a disconnect between the mind and the body.
Sure.
Why would we affirm?
So what you're talking about now is not talking about affirming language. You're talking about affirming the medical care, which is totally separate.
But that would happen before you do the medical care. You would say, oh,
no,
yes.
We're talking about medical care.
No, I know that.
We're talking about affirming one's identity and making
as being
them feel,
the opposite.
We are talking about affirming them for who they feel like they are, so they can be in an environment where they feel comfortable.
But that's sort of like affirming something that isn't true. You're lying. It's like you're affirming a lie, and that's not helpful. I believe it's harmful to do that.
It is none of my business what is happening under somebody's clothing. And so if 1 to 3% of the population, I might not know that they are trans, then why not use the language that is going to be the most inclusive of all of the people that are sitting there in front of me to make sure that they are accepting the information that you've admitted is important for everybody to know in a way that makes sense to them.
It's just that you're affirming something that is ultimately not true. They are not that other sex.
You are not so feelings are real, but they are not true, right?
Correct.
And so if you are making sure that the environment that you're creating is being respectful of people's feelings when you do not necessarily know what is true, because like I said, 1 to 3% of the population is transgender, and it is none of my business if someone is deciding to present in this role as an educator, right? It is none of my business if someone is deciding to present to society as male or female. I want to make sure that they're hearing the information that I'm giving them. I want to make sure that they're learning, that they're able to learn with the same unbiased viewpoint as anybody else.
Okay, well, this sounds like a lot of, I don't know. All I know is that I just don't think it's right to affirm this, and I mean, it is similar to the anorexic situation. I'm not saying that you would, but it's just that the kid would, it's body dysphoria. It's a mismatch between what the body is doing and what the mind is doing. And I just don't think that it's right to encourage that, to promote it.
I don't think you're encouraging it by using body first language.
Well, you aren't coming out and saying that a person with breasts and a vagina is female.
No.
That is a girl or is a woman.
I think,
or mother, because the language in this was also saying we don't want to offend anybody by saying mother or father. I mean, why? That's ridiculous. Why can't we say mother or father? Those are genders. Those are mother, that's a female and a male.
Well, but what if you have two fathers at home?
Well, what if? They're still male.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gay. That's two gay men together.
Oh, I understand that.
Right, but I'm not talking about gay. I'm talking about trans.
No, but you brought up the example of mother and father not being words that are used in the curriculum, and so I'm saying that.
But it would be mother, mother, father, father. That we'd be identifying them as male and female.
I think that you get the message across still if you talk about, again, if you use body first language, you are still going to get the message across that you're talking about a person who has specific parts.
Well, yeah, that's for sure.
And the function of those specific parts.
But you're not saying a person with a vulva is a girl.
Not in middle school and not in high school, because it's not as relevant to the conversation.
Well, that's an example. I think you know what I mean. The body parts of a female, a vagina, breast, and everything, girl. Why can't we just say that?
I mean, we do during a large part of this curriculum.
But then you switch and you change it at what, 7th grade, 5th grade?
So that people have the ability to understand something that is becoming a social norm.
Well, that's another thing, is teaching it in school like this is causing it to become a social norm as well.
What's the matter with that?
I think it's it's normalizing something that isn't. It's like you said, 1 to 3% of the population. That's an exception. Why are we teaching to the exception and not to the rule? 97 to 99% of the people are female or male.
And if 1 to 3% of the population are much more likely to be so impacted by the fact that they feel ostracized by our society, that they're more likely to attempt suicide, that they're more likely to be depressed,
that's actually,
that they're more likely...
That's emotional blackmail in a way, because you're saying if you don't affirm these people and call them whatever they want, they're going to commit suicide, and I don't believe that's true.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying by creating an environment where we are more inclusive and we are saying come as you are.
I think you can be kind without affirming the stuff that's not true. I don't think it's kind to lie.
I don't think it's a lie.
Well, you said that truths can be true or they can be untrue, but you can feel them, and you can really feel them. It doesn't mean they're true. So this is a truth that female and male exist, and I think to teach otherwise is affirming and teaching a lie. I don't think that's kind.
So, no, but are you going to deny the existence of transgender individuals?
I'm not going to deny that they have those feelings, but I am going to say I don't think that is. I think that you are a boy, so you might feel like a girl, you might identify as a girl, but you're not one. I'm sorry. You have to be truthful.
And those people are already aware of the fact that their body...
Right, so why do we keep having to play along and say that you're right, I want to tell you, I'm going to call you whatever you want? I think that's harmful. It's like a lie. You're helping them. I think you get how I feel. I feel like it's affirming a lie.
Yeah.
So that's why I disapprove of teaching this sort of thing.
And that's fine. And
you're going to do it anyway? They're going to do it anyway, though?
That's what the American Academy of Pediatrics says you should do. That's what Advocates for Youth, that's what
I know. It's becoming very normalized. I feel like it's an indoctrination. And people like me who feel the way I do are getting pushed out because academia and the experts are just going to push it whether we say we don't like it or not.
I trust the evidence that is a part of my field of study. And I think that inclusion is something that is more complicated than saying that dysphoria is a lie.
I didn't say that dysphoria is a lie. I'm saying they do feel that way, but I'm saying that teaching them, affirming it. I'm not denying that they feel that way.
I think that this is throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
How?
Because by saying that because of the type of language that's being used, I'm going to say that my child can't participate in this lesson, it means that there's a lot of other information that they're not gaining.
Well, I don't mind them learning about good touch, bad touch, but I don't want my kids are now grown. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to hear that you can be, I know this is in 2nd grade, the language is already starting, and it was in one of the lessons that they gave us, so it's one of the ones that are suggested that they teach. You know, they're teaching this in 2nd grade. So it's happening at such a young age, and it's happening at all. I just think, I don't think it's wrong to teach that it is a phenomenon that is happening, but let the kids have use critical thinking skills and think, this is teaching that is the way that it is, and it's being normalized, and that's what's going to go.
In second grade, it's more focused on if a girl wants to play with a truck, that's fine. And if a boy wants to play with a doll or wear a dress,
Most people
that's
have a vulva and a vagina or a penis and testicles, but some people's bodies can be different. Your body is exactly what's right for you.
That doesn't actually spell anything out. Because what if you were born with a penis but without testicles? That happens.
That is so rare. That is an abnormality. That's not what is normally happens with a human body. That would be an abnormality or an anomaly.
Let's say that biological male that was born with a penis and didn't have testicles was in the classroom. And again, as an instructor,
Still a male, still a boy.
But would they feel like they weren't included in a really important conversation?
That would can't that be a conversation with his mother and father and the doctor, not at school? That is not a place for that conversation.
I guess I don't understand. Is it the words that make
it's suggesting? No, it's a suggestion that you can have a vulva, but you might not be a girl.
And you think a second grader understands that? When
Well, why are they
bodies? All we're saying is that your body is exactly what is right for you.
Yes. Okay, but it's an introduction to your body. You can have a penis, but you could maybe be a girl, or it's the introduction to that. It's the beginning of that sort of lingers. It continues. That was never taught when I was a second grader.
Sure, wasn't taught when I was a second grader.
But why is it being taught now?
Because I think that as we've become more accepting in our society, we're realizing this is something that's been kind of left in the dark.
But how is it becoming accepted and normalized in society? This is what's doing it. This kind of teaching all over the place is what's calling it normal. And then you say, well, because it's being normalized, we're going to teach it. It's like a vicious circle.
I understand why it might seem that way, but I think that the curriculum followed a demand that was not necessarily bred out of a desire.
Who's demanding it? Parents, this is not. I think it's a strange thing. It's coming from all kinds of directions, but it is not. It is harmful to kids, I believe. In the long run, this will, I think, be shown to be harmful. What this teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I know. So I'm not sure what to do here. We disagree entirely.
You are able to opt your children out of this curriculum.
That's true, and I will. But it's just still harmful for the kids, even that their parents don't opt them out. I believe it is harmful. So I'm just going to be on the record saying that. I don't know the answer here because I just feel like it's going to happen anyway. That's like, what is the purpose of us coming here and expressing ourselves when it's just going to happen anyway?
Well, because we've had a disagreement and we've landed on one side of it. It doesn't mean that you haven't been heard, but it means that the evidence is on one side and it's not on the side.
I don't think the evidence it suggests that this is helpful, or I think it's harmful, and I think that the evidence also comes on that side. So I don't know what to do now. Just disagree.
We can disagree about this, but
yeah, we totally do. So okay, I'm just going to leave this here. These are my suggestions, my thoughts.
thank you.
You're welcome.